CBS lead NFL analyst Tony Romo joins us now from the site. Tony, this is a measuring stick matchup, as we like to call it. Denver trying to find out what they are at their core, and they send a big message here in the fourth quarter. What'd you take away from the come from behind performance?
Well, I think the fact that they had to come from behind is actually even more important when you talk about a measuring stick performance, because you're on the road against the defending champs who are undefeated, who have that championship DNA, and you just came out and decided to be like, we're going to turn it on in the fourth quarter. That doesn't happen very often against a team like that. So I was really impressed with their patience to go down 17-3, to go down and just be systematic in their approach to make it 17-10, and then they'd figure it out, and then they'd figure it out. And then the guts of Sean Payton to go for two. That's rare, but it was a really fun game to call. But that's a big, big win for this Bronco team.
Tony, I know Coach Payton's been there for some time, but still trying to get his personality and identity imprinted on this team it's an ongoing process. What does that moment tell you there at 17-16 with no hesitation to say, I'm Coach Payton, we're the Broncos, and this is how we occupy?
Yeah, I was around Sean when I came into the NFL with the Dallas Cowboys, and I think the biggest thing, and I said it on air today, Sean Payton's not scared. He's not afraid of the moment, and a lot of people just want to do exactly this thing to make sure that no one writes anything bad about me, or like just go exactly down, by the book. And he decided to risk a lot, I felt like, in that moment. And I was like, that is because of all the film study, all the practice, all the reps. You get this moment and you're like, I know this is going to work. And when you believe that, you're like, boom, and I know my team's going to do it because I've seen it over and over and over and over and over again. And he went out there and did it. And I feel like this team just put their head down and went to work. It was a good style for them. The matchup was in place because they have some guys who could make it difficult on, the Phillies, like outside wide receivers who are really exceptional. But I felt like it was going to be a hard game. But being down 2 scores on the road against defending world champs who are 4-0, that's a really tough game to come back and win, and they did it. They deserve a ton of credit for this one.
To your point, that if that ball is delivered a little bit wide on the 2-point conversion, it's 17-16. The Eagles continue to get to play that plodding football that they intended. Instead, they're chasing and have to try and kick something into gear that we haven't seen yet. I'm looking at Jalen Hurts, 2 touchdowns, 280 yards. Smitty gets going. Still not Saquon or A.J. Brown. What are you not seeing from this group just yet that you want to see that indicates we are the group from last year and we do carry that same standard?
I think the bye week is going to be a big one. I think that you saw last year when they were 2-2, you got to remember they keep having new offensive coordinators who come in every year. And each time that happens, that person wants to impose their thoughts, their ideas, and their image of what they think the team could be. And then all of a sudden it's like, but also make sure you do all the stuff from last year. That's just not an easy segue for any team. And I felt like, we've seen this play out so many times on this team. Last year at 2-2, they had the bye week. Then they took off and won, going away from there. And that's where I think you'll tell everything, because it's in week 9 this year. I'd be concerned after the bye week if they're not playing great football. But I think they're going to keep realizing what we need to go to. We're not as good at this year. We're a little better at that. This guy needs to play more than that guy because there's different people, different coaches. But I think the Eagles are just fine. A loss is not the worst thing in the world for a team at this level. It kind of gets them reset. They're going to bring everything they got next week. And I think week 10 or 11, 12, you'll see them rolling.
I'm feeling some deja vu here, Tony. It feels like we did this a season ago. You heated the same morning, and look where we ended up. Philly, got to get it figured out, but plenty of personnel there to get it done. I think the Nance, Romo, Wolfson group was due for a thriller, and we checked that box here in Philadelphia. Great to be with you always, Tony.
Hey, it was the due theory. It was about time. I loved it. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Romo always due here on HQ in a edition we are thankful for. Don't forget to start your day each and every Sunday with the NFL Today, noon Eastern time on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. It's the kick before the kick with our team on the NFL Today. We promise to get your reaction from the field here shortly. Joe Musso pleased to be alongside Bryant McFadden to dive into what we saw there, Mac. And you're heading into the fourth quarter. It's feeling like Philly's going to hang another one of those ugly wins in the win column, improve to 5-0, complain about how everything's wrong. But now you really get to assess what is wrong with you after letting this one slip in the fourth. What changed?
They have no identity. And the thing about not having an identity, it's been that way for Philly the entire season, but they've been finding ways to win ball games considering all the ugly natures that have been tied to those said ball games. When you look at the first game, 4-point win against the Dallas Cowboys. The next week, 3-point win against Kansas City. The next week, 7-point win. And then, of course, last week, a 6-point win. They've been playing around with their food, like Joe mentioned. And guess what happened? They got caught today. They played against a team that was feisty, that was competitive, and they found a way to get back into this ball game, and they won. Philly in the fourth quarter, you had a 17-3 lead in the fourth quarter. No way in the world, being the Super Bowl champions at home, should you lose this ball game. But because they don't have an identity, they didn't know how to close the ball game out. Remember a year ago when you look at that storied championship run by the Eagles? They had the ultimate closer in their backfield in Saquon Barkley. When you have a lead for the majority of a ball game, why in the world does Saquon only have 6 carries? And I understand they were neutralizing the running game, to say the least. But so what? He is too good to not be patient with the running game, especially when you have a double-digit lead in the second half. Get 2-6 going.
Let's talk about what's in front of him, because Landon Dickerson injured in this one. You have a new guard piece as well from last year with Mekhi Becton having left. How big is Jeff Stoutland's group in the ultimate success of Saquon? They took so much pride in running for just about 2,000 yards a season ago. What are you seeing in front of him and what's not working right now?
Well, the continuity is not there in just the massive guys they had. I don't understand why Howie did not sign Mekhi Becton back. I felt like he was one of the main under-the-radar contributors for their running game, especially when they ran behind him. When you talk about having Landon Dickerson, who's 6'6", 6'7", 350, and Mekhi Becton, who's around the same height and might be a tad bit bigger but extremely athletic, keep those guys together. But you moved on. And now when you look at the continuity or the lack thereof, it's been exploited. It's been exploited, especially when you try to run in between the tackles. But I can care less, Joe. Saquon Barkley is too good of a player to not be patient with him when it comes to the running game. Because, yes, you can have Saquon bottled up for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters. All he needs is a crease. You saw what happened in the passing game today. You got him out in space on the linebacker, a splash play happened. They got to create an identity. But it was only a matter of time before they got caught. You know what? Growing up, Joe, I had a little dog, my little puppy. His name was Bo. Right? And I was a little kid, of course, and I used to let Bo run out in the yard all the time. And my uncle used to say, hey, you better get that dog. He keep running back and forth across the street. I said, no, Bo's going to be okay. One day I was looking at He-Man, cartoon He-Man, right? And I heard Bo. I looked, Bo had messed around and got hit. Bo didn't die, but he got hit. You know why? Because I kept letting Bo run across that street. That's what the Eagles been doing all year long. Running across the street, winning in ugly fashions, barely getting by, but still finding ways to win. In the National Football League, when you keep playing around and running across that street, eventually you will get hit. They got hit today. Let's see, as they rehab, what happens the next time they try to run across that street. Bo didn't die. He lived, but I learned my lesson.
I appreciate that metaphor, life imitating art in this one. I'm glad you invoke Bo.
Yeah.
Thoughts with your Bo. But on this day, Bo Nix, he was solid again here in the second half. Seems like we maybe rolled out some challenges in front of him after the way that this season started. The last 2 starts condensed in prime time against the lesser defense in the Cincinnati Bengals. But then you go on the road to Philly and you keep your group in it. That's coach, but that's also quarterback. How did Bo Nix grade out in this one for you?
Bo played good football. I think when you look at the success for Bo individually speaking, expectations were pretty high for him coming into year 2. The same can be said for a second-year quarterback in Jaden Daniels. We saw you play good football. We're expecting you to take off. But we saw some growing pains, to say the least, and that's just the nature of the league. When they get a full year of tape on you, they are better equipped to try to slow you down. But what we're seeing from Bo Nix the last few weeks, Bo Nix is starting to get in his bag. And also, the young leadership that he is showcasing for the organization, because when you look at them being down double digits in the second half, you playing against the Super Bowl champions, it's easy for a team with a young quarterback to kind of go in the tank and say, let's get ready for next week. They never looked at this game in that in that way. They felt like they can find a way to get back into the ball game, and Bo Nix was making things happen. And what about J.K. Dobbins? I don't know what it is about J.K. Dobbins, but teams just get the best out of J.K. Dobbins, and they just let him go. And guess what? He finds a new team, and he gives you great numbers. Once again, he was the catalyst of their running game, over 130 yards as a team on the ground, and he was the main guy that got things going. And their defense had 6 sacks on Jalen Hurts. 6 sacks. The Eagles were 2-11 on third down. So when you talk about the complementary football they have offensively and defensively, they made the playoffs last year. I think they got more than a strong fighting chance to make the playoffs this year based on how well they perform and just staying healthy, most importantly.
84 sacks by that rush group since the start of last season. That's 22 more than anybody else. Congrats to Bo. Congrats to the run game. The straw that stirs the drink in Denver is that pass rush group. They're successful, outscoring the Eagles 18-0 in the fourth quarter.